Now my final predictions video before the playoffs do get underway tonight. My full bracket predictions all the way from the first round to who I think is eventually going to be the 2019 Stanley Cup champion. I'm also going to be opening up a bracket challenge through NHL.com. I'm going to link that down in the description of this video. All you guys can go check that out, put your bracket in, and I think I'm going to be doing a giveaway for the winner of that. So that should be pretty exciting. Make sure you guys all go and join that. But without further ado, let's get right into it with the Calgary and Colorado series. In this series, I'm picking the Calgary Flames. I don't remember how many games I picked in my preview and predictions for this specific series, but I think my final answer is probably around 5 or 6 games for the Calgary Flames to put out the Colorado Avalanche. I just don't think Colorado has enough behind McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog really to put up a fight and win a series against the Calgary Flames. The goaltending is kind of a question mark. I think Grubauer is coming in as the starter right now. There's just too many question marks for this Colorado team, and Calgary has been one of the best teams in the entire NHL throughout the whole year, so for that reason, I have the Calgary Flames advancing. Next up, we have the San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights. I have the Vegas Golden Knights winning this series in 6 games because I think they do have the experience now from last year's deep playoff run, and San Jose is coming in not really playing well. I think they only won 2 of their final 10 games of the regular season, and I think a lot of it comes down to Erik Karlsson as well. How healthy is he? Is he 100%? Obviously, we do know he can play in the playoffs and carry a team through on one leg. He did that with the Ottawa Senators, but I just think there's too much question marks like with Colorado on this San Jose Sharks team. I don't really trust Martin Jones enough to really steal them a game in the playoffs either, and I know what Vegas is capable of. They're a better team now, in my opinion, than they were last year, and with Marc-Andre Fleury in net, I think they're just going to be too much for San Jose to handle, so I have the Golden Knights advancing in 6. Next is the Nashville Predators and the Dallas Stars. I think this is going to be a pretty tightly contested series, but just strictly based off, the experience factor, Nashville has a lot of deep playoff runs together with the core that they have. Pekka Rinne, in my opinion, is an amazing goaltender. Even though Ben Bishop has had a remarkable year, he hasn't really had that defining playoff run, but you never know, that could be this year, and it's kind of like the Colorado thing as well. I don't think Dallas has enough behind the Jamie Benn, Sagan, and Radulov line really to compete with the depth and firepower of the Nashville Predators. Nashville has been one of the most consistently good teams in the NHL over the past couple of years, so for that reason, I have them advancing. And finally, the final first round matchup of the Western Conference, the Winnipeg Jets against the St. Louis Blues. And I've seen a lot of people picking St. Louis, and I completely understand why. They had a phenomenal second half to the season. These two teams are very, very evenly matched in my opinion, but I just have to go with the Winnipeg Jets. In my opinion, they're the more proven team that had an amazing playoff run last year, and I think the big question mark for St. Louis is, can Jordan Binnington replicate his play in the regular season in the postseason? I mean, he's a rookie. It's definitely going to be tough on him, and he's going to have to play very, very well if the St. Louis Blues are going to want to make a deep playoff run. This one was really, really tough for me to call, but in the end, I'm going with the Winnipeg Jets in 7 games, but I could completely see it going the other way, and I could see St. Louis taking it, but I'm going to go with my gut and take the Winnipeg Jets. Now going over to the Eastern Conference, Tampa Bay and Columbus, and this is a series, yes, I could see the Columbus Blue Jackets stealing a game, but I see no scenario where they are able to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 4 out of 7 games. That just sounds crazy to say. I mean, Tampa Bay finished with a ridiculous record, and it's tough to beat them once, but 4 out of 7 games, it really is going to be very, very tough for any team to knock them off. And like Paul Maurice of the Winnipeg Jets said earlier today, I believe, he said there's Tampa Bay, and then there's everyone else. Everyone else is kind of evenly matched, and then Tampa Bay is in a league of their own, and I think that is definitely correct, and a lot of teams are going to have to do a lot of damage against Tampa Bay if they want to have any chance. I could see Columbus stealing a game at home, but honestly, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning in 4 games. Next is the Toronto-Boston series, and this is where the video could potentially get a lot of dislikes. I'm not a Maple Leafs fan, but I am picking the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I don't even think I've seen a bracket where anyone has taken the Toronto Maple Leafs so far in all the videos that I've watched. And that kind of surprises me because this is a team who, in my opinion, kind of underachieved this year just because they kind of staggered around in the second half and didn't really play good hockey. In the first half of the season, they were amazing, but then after that, they kind of cooled off. And I think they're kind of just coasting into the playoffs, but they're coming in healthy. Jake Gardiner is back, and I think that's a huge part, and I think that's definitely going to help them. It's definitely going to be a tough series. I have the Toronto Maple Leafs winning this in 6 games, though. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. This team's very, very hungry. They want to beat the Boston Bruins. They want revenge from last last year, and that's what I think is going to happen. I have the Maple Leafs advancing. Next up is the Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes series. Now, this is one where I want to see the underdog win. I'm really pulling for Carolina, but I just can't find it in myself to predict them to beat the defending Stanley Cup champion Washington Capitals. For me, Carolina, big question mark is in goal. Can Peter Mrazek win them a couple playoff games? He doesn't have that experience, and neither does their superstar Sebastian Aho. Nonetheless, I think the experience of making the playoffs with this core group that they have is really, really going to be good for them, but I just really can't see them beating the defending Cup champs, and I think the Washington Capitals just have way too much firepower, and they're going to beat Carolina, but in my opinion, it's going to take them all 7 games. And now the final first round series, Pittsburgh and New York. I just uploaded the preview on this today, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but in the end, I think Pittsburgh, they just have too much experience. They've won cups together with this group, and the New York Islanders, I just don't really think they have enough, depth on this team to really compete with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So for that reason, I have the Penguins advancing, but I think it will take them 7 games. Now for the first second round matchup, we have the Calgary Flames and the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm going to predict the Calgary Flames to win this series in 6 games. I don't think Vegas has enough to compete with Calgary. They were the best regular season team in the Western Conference. I think this team is really built for a very deep playoff run, so for that reason, I have the Calgary Flames advancing to the conference final. Next up, a rematch of last year's second round. We have the Nashville Predators and the Winnipeg Jets, and I have the Winnipeg Jets once again, just like last year, advancing. I'm really high on this Winnipeg Jets team. I definitely think they underachieved in the regular season, and for that reason, I think a lot of people are sleeping on them, and in my opinion, they're in for another very, very deep playoff run. Nashville is very, very good, and I think this series could go really, really long, but in the end, I have the Winnipeg Jets beating the Nashville Predators, and I'm going to say in 6 games. Now for the first second round matchup in the Eastern Conference, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I have the Tampa Bay Lightning winning this in 5 games. Yes, Toronto is a very, very good team, but I just really can't see them knocking off the Tampa Bay Lightning. They do match up pretty well in terms of their top 6, but in the end, in terms of goaltending and on the blue line, I just think I'm going to give the edge to the Tampa Bay Lightning, slightly in goal, but definitely a huge edge in probably the bottom 6 and on the defensive side of things. So for that reason, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning advancing to the conference finals over the Leafs in 5 games. And in another rematch of last year's playoffs, we have the Penguins and the Capitals, but this year I have the Penguins getting their revenge and beating the Washington Capitals, but I'm going to say it does take them 7 games. I just think Pittsburgh is refreshed. They didn't have to play, deep into the playoffs. This is a team that played a lot of hockey together over the past years, and I think that extra bit of rest and them kind of staying healthy and just coasting through the regular season, I think is really going to be big for them. They didn't have a ridiculous record. It didn't seem like they were just over the top, really, really trying to be the best team, in their division. I just think their main goal was to stay healthy up until the playoffs, and I think they're in an amazing spot to go on another very, very deep run. So for that reason, I have them advancing to the conference final. Starting with the Western Conference Finals matchup, Calgary and Winnipeg. I have the Winnipeg Jets winning this series and going to the Stanley Cup Final, doing what they couldn't do last year. And remember, if you guys don't agree with me, you don't have to hate down in the comment section. This is just prediction. I don't think I'm going to be right, but in this year, I have the Winnipeg Jets making it to the Stanley Cup Final. I really just am very high on this team. Their roster, their forward group is just amazing. I think a lot of it relies on Patrick Laine, though, and if he can be that X factor and get the goal scoring going like we know he can, and if Connor Hellebuyck can return to the last season's Connor Hellebuyck, I definitely think this is the team destined for the Stanley Cup Final. So that's why I have them advancing over the Calgary Flames, and I'm going to say it'll take them 6 games. And over in the Eastern Conference, Tampa and Pittsburgh, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning advancing to the Stanley Cup Final like I'm sure a lot of people do, and I have them playing the Winnipeg Jets in the Stanley Cup Final, but I think it will be a tough series between Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay. I'm going to say it goes the distance and Tampa ends up winning it in 7 games. I think Pittsburgh matches up pretty well. They have a lot of good defensive forwards that I think could counter Tampa's amazing offensive guys very, very well, so I think it would be a very exciting series, but this year I just think Tampa is too strong, and they're not going to be denied, and they will have an appearance in the Stanley Cup Final, and I think they're going to advance through Pittsburgh in 7 games in the conference final. And winning the Stanley Cup, I have the Winnipeg Jets. Now, I know a lot of people are already going down to the comment section and freaking out at me. This is literally just a prediction. I don't think I'm going to be right. Just make sure to do your own bracket in the link in the description, but nonetheless, I have the Winnipeg Jets winning the Cup. I'm sticking with the same pick as I had last year. They made it to the conference finals, and this year, I think they're going to get the job done. They have an amazing team, and like I said, I really think they underachieved and should have had a way better record than they had. I think Kevin Hayes has been one of the more underrated pickups of the trade deadline. line, and against the Tampa Bay Lightning it definitely would be tough. I'm going to say it goes all the way to 7 games, and Tampa Bay, the best regular season team in NHL history, tied with Detroit, and I definitely think that yes, they have that amazing season, but that doesn't always translate into playoff success. The playoffs is a whole nother monster. It's much more physical, and I really think Winnipeg matches up well, and I think a lot of it relies on if Connor Hellebuyck can be the goaltender that he was last year. So my final pick for the 2019 Stanley Cup is the Winnipeg Jets. So that is going to wrap up this video. I really hope you guys did enjoy, and like I said, if you don't agree, you don't have to freak out at me. You guys can literally make your own bracket if you click the link in the description. Join my bracket challenge. There will be a prize for the winner. I hope you guys are excited as I am for the playoffs tonight, and with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.